This podcast is brought to you by the Association for Coaching, one of the world's leading international professional bodies, which is advancing coaching in business and society worldwide. My name is Kate Jenkinson, and I am your host for this wonderful 8-part series, Neurodiversity in the Workplace, where, along with my guests, we explore the rapidly developing landscape that is neurodiversity in work. My guests are industry leaders, coaches, and business founders who share their passion, knowledge, and the real-life situations and scenarios from their own practical lived experience. Together, we examine the complexity of the workplace for those who experience the world differently. Whether you're a business owner, leader, coach, or trainer, these conversations highlight how you can make a difference to everyone's working world by looking at life through a neurodivergent lens. I'm delighted to have Dominique Stern, Neurodiversity at Roche lead, and Nathalie Meunier, Neurodiversity coaching lead at Roche. Both join me today to talk about their experience of leading neurodiversity inclusion in their global organisation. Welcome, both of you.
Hi.
Could you please introduce yourselves and explain your roles in neurodiversity, where you work? Shall we start with you, Dominique?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kate. Pleasure to be here. So, hi everyone. My name is Dominique Stern. I lead neurodiversity at Roche and work in digital technology. I'm also autistic and ADHD myself.
Thank you very much, Dominique. It's lovely to have you here. And Nathalie?
Yeah, so I'm Nathalie Meunier, working in the same company in the learning and development part of the company, where I can really live my passion for inclusion and coaching. And I am also a professional life and business coach. And I particularly started to coach neurodivergent people. I don't have any diagnosis, but I sense I have some neurodiversity elements in me.
Okay.
Chance, I think. So we want to build on that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And because the organisation is a large organisation, it'd be interesting to know maybe what you do day to day. So, Dominique, what kind of is a usual day for you, if such a thing exists?
Yeah, so in my day job, I work in the business analysis area for Roche Digital Technology. And in my neurodiversity work, I lead neurodiversity at Roche as a program, as well as the Neurodiversity Network, which is dedicated to making Roche a place where every mind can thrive. So we really create a place of belonging and acceptance for neurodivergent people. We're neurodiversity affirming, and we also raise awareness of neurodiversity at work and advocate for neuroinclusion in every aspect of the employee experience.
That sounds very comprehensive, actually. I like how you described that. Thank you. And Nathalie, what would sort of a usual day be like for you?
So what I'm doing in my role, learning and development, is preparing and leading a lot of workshops. And that starts with the diagnosis, talking with people, usually with the leaders of the team. And very often we end by realizing inclusion is a topic of importance. And because in our company, we are a very creative, innovative company, we have also many neurodivergent people because of their talents. Yeah. And so very often we realize there is something to invest to develop this inclusion and also increase awareness to neurodiversity. Yeah. So that's part of many workshops I'm doing. And in parallel, 2 times a week, more or less, I will coach neurodivergent people or coach their leaders. So leaders saying, I want to understand what I can do to be more inclusive in my leadership style.
That's really lovely. Got a curiosity around that, but I'll maybe hold that until we talk about coaching a little bit more. So thank you for telling me both what your kind of day-to-day work is. And you mentioned you'd just come back from a workshop this morning, Nathalie. Was that one of these that you've designed around neurodiversity?
Yes, it was. Maybe it will demonstrate how we collaborate, Dominique and I. Basically, Dominique was approached by a leader who was a bit struggling with her team, seeing that there were some conflicts and sometimes she was lacking some inclusive collaboration, I would call it. And out of this, we thought, okay, let's do a psychological safety workshop. And then she shared with us, she has a few people who are neurodivergent in our team. And we built something together, Dominique and I, around psychological safety, building the trust, but also raising awareness and understanding of what can we do to be more inclusive, basing the discussion on the challenges and the strengths of neurodivergent people, right? So it was like building on what we know will help neurodivergent people. What can we do as a team? Because it will help anybody. So it could be an advantage because you're not speaking English as a mother tongue, for example.
Yeah. It's interesting how that insight gained from neuroinclusion practices and changes, like you say, can benefit everybody. Yes. So lovely. Again, you've mentioned something I'm really interested in around psychological safety. Before we go into that, I'm interested in how Roche's neurodiversity program started. Dominique, would you be able to kind of give us some of that background?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 6 years ago, I was late diagnosed autistic, and it really explained a lot of things in my life that I didn't understand before. So at the time, I was maybe a bit naively going to my line manager and, people in culture and say, hey, I found out something new about myself. How can you support me? And I was met with respectful but mostly blank stares. The interesting thing was that they then sent me to the company doctor and said, okay, don't worry, he can help you with your illness. And I was a bit surprised, but, I figured, let's go with it. And I went to the company doctor and he asked me, well, why are you here? And I said, well, my boss sent me. And he said, well, are you sick? And I said, no, I'm just autistic. Then he started laughing, I started laughing. And then we both realized, there's a lot of educational work and awareness work that we have to do, not just in the microcosm I was working in, but like on an organizational level.
Yeah.
And this then drove the founding of neurodiversity at Roche.
Wow.
So I founded this in early 2020, actually just before COVID hit. So it was an interesting time back then. And it's grown organically since then, becoming a bigger priority or having bigger momentum within the company over the years.
Gosh, that's a fascinating start. Thank you for sharing that, Dominique. And I laughed as well, but there's a bit of irony in that laughter because, yes, 5 years ago, people were seeing this more of an illness and something that had a different need, so that you've turned that round to being something like a program or change or education is really something. So I'm really interested to hear what that's like today. So since this start in 2020, what has the momentum been like around neuroinclusion?
The momentum has been steadily growing. I would say it's always been met with curiosity and interest. And people were very open to learn. So we've took people along on this learning journey with grace. In the recent years, it has become very clear for us how strongly cognitive diversity, so all brains working together, drives innovation. And with Roche being an R&D company, this is our DNA is innovation and research. Helping all brains work together more effectively and efficiently is really helping us achieve our mission to serve patients. And this has been reflected in the general awareness around the topic on all levels of the organization, but it had also been reflected in the growth of the network. So we have now a global network of over 1,000 members who are part of the neurodiversity network, which is open to all employees, so everyone is welcome there. So there's neurotypical and neurodivergent people, or people who are just interested about the topic. The dynamics and the growth and the sense of belonging has really, really increased thanks to the network.
It sounds like it's had a real positive impact. Something you said about the kind of culture of curiosity and learning, Nathalie, I noticed you might have something you wanted to add about that.
It's part of our DNA at Roche to be inclusive. So, of course, it's one part of our goals, right? We want really ensure people feel they belong so that they can thrive. And an element of that is neuroinclusion, of course, knowing that we have many neurodivergent people due to the nature of our work. So it seems we attract neurodivergent people. And of course, each of the neurodivergent people and their leaders are facing certain challenges because the way we are organized, like the world, is not necessarily adapted for neurodivergent people. So if we want them to bring their talents, there is a lot to win for the people, but for us as well, to make sure we have an inclusive space. So in general, we want to create an inclusive workspace for everybody. And that benefits also neurodivergent people. And the work that Dominique is doing in giving a space for exchanging between neurodivergent people, they might realize things, they will give each other tips. It's a place to have someone listening to you or someone sharing ideas or tips and tricks. It's a space to feel you belong also, but a space where you can help each other. So I think it helps people to win this feeling, oh, I belong, I'm welcome.
Yeah.
And they see also where they can get support, either from the community or within the company, like the coaching. But there could be other things.
You just mentioned the coaching, Nathalie, so I'm interested from that perspective. What types of support do employees tend to seek when they come to you?
First, it's not only me. We are a group about, so we have a large internal coach community in the company, and we are about 12 neurodiversity coaches.
Okay.
So I would say when they come, basically when we start the coaching, it's like any other coaching, and people who need to answer questions or decide on something. But I think what helps is knowing that we get people who are sensitive or understand neurodiversity. They know when that will help to build their trust, right? When they book a coach, they will trust more that the people in front of them will understand them. So knowing these coaches will probably understand me good is a first great step for trust, building trust. And then when we have the conversation, I think as ND coach, what we do is we spend more time on the alliance, right? How we create the space. So it's about trust, but also really making sure your client is safe, feeling safe, and gets what he or she needs. For example, we have a lot of glass walls in the company. I will look for a room where you feel really safe.
And I was really interested in the fact you talked about doing a workshop around psychological safety. So that's one great example of how you can assure that. Are you able to share anything else about psychological safety and how you create that at Roche?
Yeah, so psychological safety is one of the hot topics, I would say, since a few years, because it will foster inclusion, it will foster collaboration and creativity. So for that, of course, my role is to raise awareness, understanding, and to make sure the teams take accountability for that, because I don't have any possibility to make the team safe. So that's what they need to understand, but also understand what they can get from that, what they will win from that. So I've been doing many of these workshops since many years. And we bring the team together. That's the first step for them to see, oh no, it's not as rose as we pretend or we would think. There are challenges. We do surveys.
Yeah.
So if a leader might say, no, everything is fine, we have a lot of trust, and then they see the results like we had today, and they say, oh, there is potential to do something and improve. Yeah. And then my point is always, as a leader, you are a role model, and it's a team effort. It's an opportunity to work and co-create something with your team so that you get the team cohesion.
Yeah.
And you put the thing on the table.
Well, actually, I find that inspirational, Nathalie, that you as an organisation have, first of all, a number of neurodiversity coaches, but also coaches who can run this kind of workshop with leaders and their teams. Because, as you said, co-creation is what you're aiming for.
Yes.
Because that then creates, what's the benefit of co-creation? So people listening to this maybe for the first time hearing it, what would you say you get when you do that kind of workshop?
I think everybody knows the situation. If someone is giving you a solution, you have to implement it, to adopt it. You will not feel the same engagement as if you are engaged in creating that. You can influence so that it's talking to you as well. It's not only the vision of the leader. If it's something for all of you, everybody should be engaged in creating that together. It should not be imposed from the top. It will not fly. You want people to adopt with heart, right? Because they are creating it. It's part of their baby, if you want. They want to do something, right?
I love that. Yes. I'm sold on it already. I think co-creation is so powerful. So this is really interesting. Is there maybe a success story you can share with us about the partnership that you've had during this time?
Maybe the workshop I was sharing before is an example, right? People will either come to Dominique because it's their first place to go, if there is something around neurodiversity, and he might say, okay, we have different things we can do. One is you can have a coaching for yourself, or you can have a workshop. Or you will provide other resources. And the same thing can happen to me, people coming to me, and I realize there is something about neurodivergence with this client. And so I will do my coaching. And then at the end, I would say, I want to share some resources with you. Maybe you're interested in talking with people who are in a similar situation or experience similar things. So that's how we work together. And that's more the reactive part, but being creative, we will do also information session in the neurodiversity week time, or I bring a lot in any of the workshop I'm doing on many different leadership development topic or whatever. I will talk about neurodiversity. I embed that in what we do, one topic or whatever. I will talk about neurodiversity.
Dominique, would you be able to share a success story where this partnership has made a difference to someone or a team member?
Yes, absolutely. So the whole neurodiversity coaching led by Nathalie is already a huge success story for the company and for our employees, because the coaching is for everyone, right? So it could also be for a neurotypical leader coaching a neurodiverse team. It could be for neurotypical people wanting to be, more collaborative in their teams. And what Nathalie shared before is really crucial to see that we are starting to introduce these systemic changes, so that people across the company who might not have anything to do or never heard of the topic of neurodiversity start to recognize, okay, there's maybe more to this situation than we're aware of, and then channel it into the right contacts. And it has really made a very positive difference for this team, for example. This highlights really that oftentimes at the root of these coaching scenarios is a communication topic. Right, it's like people talking different languages and not even being aware they're talking different languages. This can have, very significant impact on how well people work together, how the performance looks like. And from a strategic perspective, coaching is super important. The challenge we have is it does not scale to the organization of 100,000 plus employees, right? So from a strategic level, it's seen more as a second line measure to help in situations where it's really acute. Can also be a preventative measure, of course. But in general, we try to raise the awareness and knowledge about neurodiversity to a point where at some point in the future, and this might be utopian at the moment, it's not needed anymore, right? Because people are already aware of how to act neuroinclusively, and it's, systemically inclusive.
Thank you for that. It does still feel, from my perspective of having worked in HR for 25 plus years, that this is one of the sort of newly developing areas of our practice. The language is developing, people's ability to advocate for what they need is improving, and organisations' responses and reactions are, like you say, Nathalie, becoming co-created efforts. And it's really lovely to see this and to hear the stories that you're sharing with us. Gives me great hope for the future, for sure. Maybe we can change tack a little bit, because we often hear that neurodiversity offers business advantages and neuroinclusion. So do you see neurodiversity as a driver of innovation, Dominique?
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, I believe it's crucial to create competitive advantage for any organization. So for Roche, neurodiversity is a reality, right? So we have 1 in 5 people that are neurodivergent in general in our organization. This means we have thousands of neurodivergent folks. And this is a great thing because cognitive diversity drives innovation. If you look at this from a pharma perspective, biodiversity often helps us to find new molecules. Neurodiversity enables us to better deliver them to patients. So neurodiverse teams are proven to drive innovation. We know that they can deliver more medical advances, also at less cost, by leveraging this brain capital, so to speak, of all brains. And this also helps us in accelerating our journey towards a high-performing organization. And there's countless examples that I could bring on this topic. I'll just start with one. So there was a technology team that was trying to solve a challenge for like 6 months, and they weren't able to solve it, even with their best efforts. And then an autistic person joined the team. In this case, it was a consultant. And within 2 weeks, the person had solved the problem and they were able to move on.
I think that's a lovely example. I think you've demonstrated with that example, Dominique, the advantage of a team that is neurodiverse, as in it has a combination of neurotypical and neurodivergent talent. I think I've read in reports that performance is sort of 30 to 40% better in neurodiverse teams. I don't know if that's something that you would agree with or not, but I've definitely seen that when I've deliberately put teams together with different ways of perceiving problems, because I think it's the perception that's different. When people have a different perception, as in coaching, Nathalie, you'll have seen this when we do a coaching reframe, suddenly different ideas come forward and solutions are possible. We've talked about innovation, and we've talked about how coaching and psychological safety can create a space for this to happen. What do you think around leadership, Nathalie? What might be one thing that a leader could do tomorrow that would help be more inclusive of neurodivergent talent?
Probably you can think what I would say. I really encourage all leaders to develop their coaching skills.
Yeah.
For me, it's one of the big drivers. So we really want to develop a creative mindset in the company, so where you are conscious about the way you lead, right? And you consciously decide to go more into the relationship or delivering results. And that's one element, being aware on how you lead. But one element is about talking much less and listening much more. So that's one of the skills of coaching, is this listening. And that's one of my favorite training or workshop I'm delivering, is about developing coaching skills, listening, asking open questions, and always approaching all these conversations with a very curious mindset and a sincere interest for people.
Yes.
Forget yourself, open your heart, open your hands, and open your minds. That's what I always say. And then try to see who is in front of you. Forget your assumptions, right? So that's really something I'm asking them to do more. They are not asked to get a certification, but really listen. Listen to understand, not listen to answer.
I run a few workshops as well, Nathalie, and that's the one I love running, because so often that's what people do. They fall into the trap of listening to then respond.
And that's something we really foster in the company, that we have very fundamental training we have for leaders. And it's about being curious, listening to people, and not giving solution, but showing your people you trust they have the answer. So it's really a coaching approach, right?
Yeah.
I hear your problem and I want to help you to find a solution, rather to say the solution is, because we want the people to grow. Yeah. And if you only give them the solution, they will never develop. But the world is moving so fast. The company is developing so fast. If we don't help people to continue to grow and learn, first, they will disengage, and there will be a time they will not be adequate for the role and will have to leave the company.
Yeah.
So we really encourage leaders to develop their people and to help them get more accountability, responsibility, And that will relieve also the leaders from doing and knowing everything. And that will engage more the people. So that gives a different energy in the group.
Yeah.
And that's something to be inclusive. It's absolutely a great approach, right? For neurodivergent and neurotypical.
It works for everyone. Absolutely right. I'm 100% with you that curiosity is the start and having listening skills. I don't know what it's like in other parts of the world, really. So from my perspective, listening is generally not taught in education in the UK. And I'm curious to know your experience. Is that something that is true of other places, that you need to sort of teach these kind of listening skills for everybody?
I think it can be a bit cultural, right? What I observe is when we are in a conversation, we are not comfortable with silence, right? As soon as someone has stopped speaking, we jump into it, particularly in the south of Europe. I think France, you hear from my accent, I'm originally from France.
Yeah.
But not only. So you don't give space for people to reflect. We know neurodivergent people, we need time maybe to digest, to prepare the answer. And but it will benefit anybody to give this time. And that's something we are not good at. Once somebody has almost stopped talking, the next one jump into it, right?
Yeah.
So listening is something to develop and be comfortable with silence.
Yeah, I'm smiling because you just said one of my favourite things. I love wordplay, and so I will say to people that listen and silent, they are anagrams of one another.
Oh, you're right.
So I love that, and then people go, "Oh yeah, that's really interesting," and then it connects hopefully the two things. So yeah, really important. You said my favourite thing. Thank you for that. Is there something that you would think, Dominique, from your perspective, that a leader could do tomorrow that would be maybe more inclusive for neurodivergent talent?
Yes, first of all, you don't need to be an expert on neurodiversity to be neuroinclusive. The most important thing, and this is building on what Nathalie said, is ask your employee, what do you need to perform at your best? And then listen, like truly listen. And especially in the case of neurodivergent people, if you know they're neurodivergent or if they have disclosed to you, believe them.
Yeah.
That's by far the most important thing that you can do. And then, of course, as possible and appropriate, act on making sure they have what they need to perform at their best. Because oftentimes, due to maybe fear or unawareness, as a leader, you maybe do nothing out of being afraid to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But that is actually worse than having an open conversation with the person and then figuring it out together.
Yeah.
It's a million times better. And especially in the case of neurodivergent folks, don't question when they tell you what they need, because they know. And in case you might not be neurodivergent yourself, and even if you're neurodivergent, their lived experience might be very, very different from yours.
Yeah.
So just believe them and try to make it happen for them, and you will see their performance rocketing.
I feel like pausing after that, because I think what you said is incredibly powerful and probably one of the most significant points I've heard people make. I'm going to just repeat what you said, if I may, Dominique. You said, what do you need to perform at your best? And I can tell you hand on heart, had I been asked that question often enough and supported in the way you've just said, I'm sure there would have been much more I could have contributed in some of my previous roles. So I think you've really said something very significant there. Thank you. And I think if people do what you've both just said there, ask those questions and then listen openly and co-create, really, that's the unique approach that would affect everybody's performance. That's my perspective. Thank you for that. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Nathalie?
Yeah, regarding what leadership leaders can do is also being curious, but also realize if one of your employees take the courage to ask you for something special.
Yeah.
There is a good reason for that. I don't think anybody, so without disclosing anything, but if someone comes and says, listen, I've really had time to concentrate at work because we are working in big rooms, and I need more time working from home to be able to deliver the work you expect from me, then take it seriously, because nobody will ask for a special treatment if they don't need it.
Yeah.
So I think it's something very to consider. Or maybe you can ask with curiosity, tell me more, what do you mean? What is behind? What is your challenge? But not say, why is not the queen? Why is he or he asking for something special? I think it takes so much effort. Respect it and take it as a gift from this person, that this person is trusting. I can ask to my manager, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely brilliant what you've said there. It does take, as a coach myself for neurodivergent talent, getting the courage to ask for something like that is incredible. It's not easy. And so when somebody does that, it really does need that listening respect, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's worth investing in that. And there is more to win than to lose. So again, for anybody, try to explore this topic. There are many books, there are many videos you can watch if you want to discover more. There is a book about neurodiversity coaching which I recommend everybody. Try to learn more and you will see the potential. And then you will probably start to be also an ally for neurodiversity inclusion coach or whatever, right?
What's the book, Nathalie, that you recommend?
It's called Neurodiversity Coaching. I don't remember the name of the author. Doyle?
It's by Nancy Doyle. Yeah.
It is Nancy Doyle, yeah. Thank you for that. Yes, I think that's a really good resource for anybody, not just coaches, leaders and managers as well.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Lots of stories, which is the best way to understand what neurodivergent people experience and how simple sometimes is the solution to help them.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, simple and usually no cost is my experience. It's usually a question, curiosity, and
impactful.
Yeah, thank you. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Dominique?
Yes, so I'd like us to remember that our world is built according to neuronormative culture and standards. So simply put, the world is not designed for the neurodivergent brain, but for the majority of neurotypical brains, right? So living as a neurodivergent person in a neurotypical society can lead to serious health impacts. And every day I think about all the neurodivergent people who do not have access to opportunities, where the stars did not align, who did not get lucky. And we are, as a society, missing out on so many extraordinary people due to this unawareness and fear. And what does keep me going is knowing that we can change all this, no matter where we are in the world or in the organization or in society. So it's really time to drop the stigma. There's behaviors that will help neurotypical or neurodivergent employees, but they're especially important for neurodivergent employees. So as a leader, try to be curious, try to learn, so have a non-judgmental attitude. Be patient, like even if you implement the changes that the employee said they need, they might not be effective immediately or they might need tuning. So be flexible, like iterate on those changes and adjustments. And most of all, again, listen and check in with your employee regularly. Are these adjustments that we've made effective, or do we need to fine-tune them further?
Yeah.
That's what I would hope for every leader to consider.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really interesting addition, because sometimes without the patience, we can think one change will make all the difference. And it is that sort of over time evolution. And all relationships are like that, aren't they? They take time to develop. So thank you for that. So, if you could change one perception about neurodiversity in the corporate world, what would that be?
First, it's about awareness, right? There is maybe something simple. These people are not sick. They are just different, right? And I like this. I don't remember from where these statements come. I'm different, but I'm not less. And I would even say somehow, nobody would say that, but I'm more. So that would be something to consider, because of course it might take some efforts for a leader to be more inclusive, but it's an investment on long term, and you will get the reward much more. You will get much more reward than what you have invested. So if we could change this perception, and it starts by awareness, understanding, I think that would be wonderful.
I know you're making great efforts to do that as well with what you've told us. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Dominique, if you could change one perception about neurodiversity in the corporate world, what might it be?
Neuroinclusion is not charity. Neuroinclusion will directly unlock probably one of the biggest performance reserves you have in your organization, because your existing teams who are likely already neurodiverse will perform so much better if you put a focus on this. Yeah. So it is just good business to be neuroinclusive.
Couldn't agree more. Just agree totally with what you just said. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation we've had. Nathalie and Dominique, thank you for being my guests on the Neurodiversity at Work podcast. I know that if people want to find you, then you're both on LinkedIn and they can follow you there. I've been really inspired by what I've heard you both share today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to another podcast by the Association for Coaching. For over 20 years, our purpose has been to inspire and champion coaching excellence, advance the coaching profession, and make a sustainable difference to individuals, organisations, and society. To find out more about the AC and our member benefits, follow us on LinkedIn or visit our webpage at associationforcoaching.com, where you can explore our digital learning hub and enjoy our extensive library of on-demand webinars, podcasts, and a portfolio of live events featuring thought leadership tools, models, and the very latest industry trends to help you develop your coaching expertise.